A father executed in cold blood, gunned down in front of his two young sons outside of their daycare. Authorities say the shooter was the children's own mother.
I pray to God it's a death penalty case, because a person of that mindset, that evilness within them deserves nothing less than death.
Christopher Jones had just walked out of the Florida daycare, buckled his sons into their car seats when, according to Bradford County investigators, Mindy Osteen pulled out a gun and allegedly shot him right in front of their children.
He loved them. He did everything for them. He worked long hours to provide for them.
Now, Christopher is dead, his ex is in jail, and their two little boys are left with a nightmare they will never forget.
She has no right to ever see those children again, because she didn't give a damn about them.
I'm Kennedi Walker, and this is Law and Crime.
Ready, set, go!
Christopher Jones loved nothing more in this world than his two little boys. They played together, laughed together, made memories in the everyday moments. But those memories are all the boys have now, because they won't get to grow up with their father. He's gone, taken in the most brutal way imaginable. It happened on Friday, July 25th. The day started like any normal day. Police say Christopher picked his children up from daycare. He reportedly put both boys in the back of his car, buckled them into their car seats, and got into the driver's seat. But what he didn't know was that someone was allegedly watching. Bradford County detectives say their mother, Mindy Osteen, was lurking nearby. Security footage allegedly shows her waiting. Then she pulled a gun from her bag and started shooting. Witnesses say you could hear Christopher's screams. He reportedly jumped out of the car and tried to run. Osteen allegedly followed and then fired again. Investigators say he made it to the entryway of the daycare, desperate to get help, but couldn't get through the second set of security doors. Osteen allegedly caught up to him and reportedly fired more shots. Police say her gun jammed, then she stepped outside, cleared it, and came back. According to documents, Osteen said, "Please let the monster die," then walked right up to Christopher and allegedly said, "You got to die, Chris. You can't kill my kids." And he replied, "I'm not killing nobody." When deputies arrived, Christopher was still alive, and according to documents, he told them Mindy Osteen was the one who shot him. As they approached, Osteen allegedly confessed on the spot, saying, "I'm right here, y'all. I done it in self-defense." Christopher was rushed to the hospital, but he did not survive. Now, Mindy Osteen is charged with first-degree murder, cruelty towards a child, weapon possession, and larceny. And their two boys are left without their father, without the man who loved them more than anything. Christopher's sister, Melanie Russo, started a GoFundMe to support the boys. On social media, she claimed Christopher was a victim of domestic violence. She wrote in part, "Men can be victims too. And when their pain is ignored, the consequences can be devastating." She went on to say, "What most people didn't see was the abuse he endured behind closed doors, the emotional manipulation, the physical violence, the stalking, the threats. He reported it. He tried to get help, but because he was a man, his cries were unheard." And today I'm speaking with Christopher's sister, Melanie Russo. First, Melanie, I just want to say how sorry I am for your loss. I cannot imagine the pain your family is going through right now. First, how are you doing, and how are Christopher's sons holding up?
We are going day by day. We are just taking it day by day. That's all we can do right now. Luckily at this time, the boys are surrounded by family that loves them. We've had family reaching out to offer to help care for them, help with their needs as much as we possibly can. So right now, thankfully, they're living a good life. They're surrounded by love, and they're happy boys, but they're still young. So we don't know what our outcome is going to be with them as they get older.
This is a Law and Crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? And research is potentially linking ultra-processed foods to these outcomes. Morgan & Morgan is stepping in to fight to hold food companies accountable. With decades of experience fighting large corporations, they're ready to stand up for families who deserve justice. If your child, who is under 21 years old, has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, visit www.forthepeople.com/food or scan the QR code below. What kind of father was Christopher? What do you want people to know about him as a dad and just as a person?
Christopher was an amazing father. He loved his sons in such a way. Like, I saw a transformation in his life from the moment his first son was born, and he decided at that point that he was going to be the best version of himself possible for those boys, and he did. He loved them. He did everything for them. He worked long hours to provide for them, and in the time that he wasn't working, he took that spare time, he was with them. If he wasn't at work, he was taking care of them, playing ball with them, playing t-ball with them, swimming in the pool with them. Very, very active father in their life. Amazing father.
Now, online, you said that your brother was a victim of domestic violence. Can you help us understand what he was going through behind the scenes?
He went through a lot. The mother of his children, she had some serious mental instabilities. There was history of drug use and everything else. We don't know how current any of that was, if it was played a factor or not. I mean, there's no way to really know. But there was a lot of verbal abuse. There was a lot of physical abuse. There was emotional abuse. She knew how much he loved his sons. She knew that they had his heart, and she used that against him. She would throw things. She would break things. She would throw things at him, like glasses, would throw things at him while he was holding their son. She was very violent. She pulled a knife on him at one time, and then she turned around and called the cops and said it was him pulling a knife, when it wasn't. It was her pulling a knife on him. She's attacked him, after they separated, when he would go to pick up the boys, before they were removed from her care, when he would go to pick them up. She has attacked him physically. And I mean, in all of it, he reached out for help, but he reached out for help not only necessarily for himself. He reached out for help to try to get help for her, for her mental health, because he knew that the children needed a mother with mental stability. And he knew that he couldn't live a life with somebody that was constantly attacking him, And so he tried to get that help. He tried to get that help for her. He tried to get that help for the boys. He tried to get that help for himself. And nobody listened. Nobody did anything.
Did he ever talk to you about being afraid or feeling like something like this could happen?
He spoke with his family quite frequently about, none of us ever could have imagined that it could have gotten to this point. None of us thought that the violence would escalate to this point. But he did talk about, like, it did get to a point to where he would not even do like a child exchange with her. Like, he would have family members do that, just because anytime that he would go around, she would attack him. And then she would turn around and try to say that it was the opposite. And she would try to call the law and say he was attacking her when that wasn't the case. She was attacking him. So he got to a point to where he just completely stood back and just asked for the help of the family. Can you please help me do the exchange? The boys still need to see their mother, but I can't be in her presence because of what she may do. But even at all of it, I don't think anybody expected it to go this far.
And now, unfortunately, he's no longer here. 2 boys left without a father. Their mom is now in jail. How are you guys just handling this mentally?
It is a lot. It is hard. It is very hard. But as a family, we have all come together and we are there supporting each other, and we are supporting the boys in the best way that we can for the time being while we figure everything else out, while we figure out the next steps. We don't know what the next steps are going to look like. We have no idea what the future is going to look like. But for right now, we are making sure as a family that these boys are being taken care of, from everyone from grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody is stepping in and offering their help in any way possible to make sure that right now these boys are taken care of, that they are happy, that they are healthy, and that they have a safe place to land.
Online, you seem to be spreading a lot of awareness about the issues that men go through in regard to domestic violence, and just showing that men can be victims as well. Why do you think society struggles to believe or support some male victims in domestic violence?
Well, I mean, because first and foremost, most men aren't going to come forward. Men they already know who's going to believe us. Who's going to believe if we come through and say that we are suffering from the hand of a woman? Because society in itself always just sees the woman as the victim. So, and even in this situation, when he was reaching out for help, he was reaching out for help for her, for her mental health, rather than reaching out. I mean, while he was letting them know, hey, this is happening, he was doing it more to get her help. But and that just shows that men aren't going to reach out and say, I need help from this woman, because they don't feel like they're ever going to be believed. And this is a situation that shows just that, because while he showed proof of the constant emotional, physical, mental, text messages and everything, he showed everything that he needed to show to the right people, and nobody did anything. And it is so sad, because even in this, I'm hearing stories. There are other men that are commenting on my social media and things like that, telling me their stories as men who did suffer domestic abuse at the hands of a woman, and nobody ever believed them. Nobody ever believed them. And it's just the way that society and culture right now views things, and they just, because we have gone forward so much in time to talk about violence against women and everything else, which by all means, we have to stand up for women, but we also have to stand up for men. Domestic violence can affect anybody. Anybody can be a victim. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter where you come from, where you've been. Anybody can become a victim of domestic violence. And we have to be willing to listen and accept that, and give them the help that they need, and not judge them. Oh, you're a man, you should be able to take care of yourself. Or, oh, she's just a woman. No, we need to be able to make sure everybody gets the help that they need before we end up in a situation like this one.
Absolutely. And we hope that Christopher's story changes lives in that way. And hopefully, some change does happen. But finally, Melanie, what does justice and healing look like for your family moving forward?
That is hard to say, because it's very fresh. Um, so without trying to speak through the emotions of what we're feeling, the only justice that can be served at this point is making sure that our justice system does right by Chris, and making sure that Mindy is imprisoned. And honestly, she deserves no less than the death penalty for this. This was a crime against an innocent man. This was a crime against her own children. How do you let somebody continue to walk this earth when they've done what they've done like this? And I mean, while that's never going to help us heal, that's not going to bring him back, that's not going to make us feel better, I think from where we are as a nation, as society, I think that's the best that we can ask for.
Well, Melanie, your family is definitely in our thoughts and prayers. This is a story that we will be following. Thank you so much for coming on today.
You're welcome.
And here to break down where the investigation stands and what could come next in this case is Bradford County Sheriff Gordon Smith. Sheriff, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on today.
Absolutely, it's important to get the truth out and the message out. to what occurred. It's really shocked the community.
Yeah, let's just start with the moment your team responded. I mean, what were deputies met with at the scene outside of the daycare?
Confusion and chaos at first, getting the reports. We did have a high school, which is right next door. There's a little street between the two, the daycare, by the way, which is the daycare both of my kids that are grown adults now went to when they were young. No fault of the daycare. Um, I was getting called as I was pulling up to the sheriff's conference in Orlando, get a phone call from the superintendent asking what's going on. And I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. Had three of my grandsons with me in the truck. And then the bells and whistles start going off on my alerts and my phone and those times, those situations that happen in our end, and trying to get to the bottom of it, and I go back and I look at the video because the daycare has video, high school has video, the body cams of the officers, the dash cams, all those things in play, and talking with the detective on scene, the lead detective. But the officers were met with total chaos and confusion. You got kids that are being picked up by their parents when this goes down. The daycares, thank goodness that the daycare has protocol and they followed that, which kept other kids, except for those already outside, being strapped in their car seats. That mothers are putting their child in the car seat. She shows up. She parks just down the road, waits for it. She shows up. It doesn't appear there's any arguments, confusion or anything between those. She makes contact with her two small children, 2 and 1, makes contact with them, and has a brief conversation. They have no conversation. He's picking up the kids' backpacks. She leaves from that scene out of the video. He's strapping the children in. He goes back and grabs some of their belongings, gets into the car, and before he closes his door, she re-enters back in, walks up to the open door area, and just open fires. She shoots him 4 or 5 times there, sitting in the actual driver's seat. He tries to flee, tries to go to run for help. As he flees, the vehicle right behind him is loading their child into a car. She fires in that direction of that car in the high school. Then chases him around. Actually chases him. The gun jams. She takes time to unjam the weapon and fixes the jammed shell and chases him up into the daycare. Now, the daycare has a system in place. You have an outer door, you have a receiving area for parents to pick up their kids, and then there's another locked door that stays locked until each child comes out. He can't get in that door. He's begging for help. You can see, obviously, in the video, he's been shot multiple times. She engages him again and shoots him a couple more times, unjams the weapon again. You can hear her trying to clear the weapon, hollering things at him. You got to die. I don't want you to kill my children, and shoots him again. And it appears the weapon may have jammed because when we recovered it, it still had a couple of rounds in it, but the gun was jammed. She then goes outside and she's kind of circling the vehicle, trying to figure out what to do next. She's hitting her vape. She's doing all those type things, not going to her children. She's not going to them. Law enforcement, another mother to pick her child up, sees her walking around, walks up. As she goes to go in the door, our victim tries to open the door and begs her for help. She's obviously, it's obvious, and she flees and she's trying to get on the phone and call 911. It shocks her. The gentleman's just begging for his life, and the deputies get on scene. They start administering first aid. They're met. They don't know who shot who, where the other person is. She has taken the gun and laid it down in the driver's side of that vehicle where the door was still open. She lays it down there and leaves out of the viewing camera area. And the officers are doing the first aid, administering that. And she walks back around and says, "Here I am. I did it, but it was self-defense," to that effect. And they take her into custody.
I mean, since she's in custody, has she said why she did this? Has a motive been revealed?
No, ma'am. All she says, she had to protect her kids. They were in a child custody battle. That was a court case coming up. We had dealt with them numerous times. The last act of domestic violence that we can find was back in April of last year. On the 7th, we arrested him for domestic violence. The next day he gets out. She comes to him about a phone and actually They have some kind of altercation. She makes a complaint. We file charges on him on the April 8th, the day after he was arrested. File the charges. It goes to the state attorney. They both declined to pursue charges with the state attorney's office then. And since then,
Let's
they've
speak.
been in this long battle.
Yeah,
Custody battle.
let's just speak more about that because, online, the victim's sister, she's saying that he was also a victim of domestic violence. What can you tell us about that? And then this is just one of those examples when people hear about domestic violence, maybe it isn't taken as seriously, but it can end in someone's life ending.
Oh, yes, ma'am. And, and in our state, in our community, anytime there's a alleged domestic violence, we have to file a report. And we have to try to arrest the primary aggressor in each one of those cases. Go back to April 7th. The deputies had probable cause to believe he was the primary aggressor. He was arrested. The very next day he gets out. She comes to him. And I'm looking at it. I've got it here on April 8th. He brought a phone line on his Verizon account without authorization. He says somebody's added a phone line. Remember, they're not married. They're not married. They have the 2 children in common. He reported that Mindy struck him while he was sitting in his truck, which is coincidental. She shoots him while he's sitting in his truck. She strikes him. We charge her with burglary and battery and fraud. We sent that over to the state attorney's office. We couldn't find her. She's fled. We filed those charges. They later both declined to pursue the charges, both in regards to it. We look back at this, and there's some other incidents, but most of them are relating to child custody issues. He's moved on. He's trying to get custody of his kids. She has 3 older children that she no longer has custody of. Then they had these 2 children in common. He was trying to, by all appearances, trying to be a father, trying to do all the right things in regards to it. In one of his social media posts just a couple of months ago, he changes his profile to him in a nice suit, dressed sharp, looking good. And she makes the comment that he picked out, the suit for his funeral. So something was going on her a couple of months ago. Of course, we don't get that report. Nobody makes that report to us. He's a man, us men, we like to be tough and think we're unaffected by it. But she makes all kinds of allegations to children and families. We don't have access to that yet. We are, as part of the investigation, subpoenaing all that information from the Children and Family Services. This has been ongoing, and it appears on the outside of everything that we're looking at right now, looking into this case, he is doing all the proper things to seek custody of his children. Still had to prove paternity. He had an upcoming court case, taking all the proper steps. She was not living with him. They've been apart. She's, like I say, she's made several of those calls, but all of them have been found to be false. And that's the sad reality. He was being a father. That's all we can find out. Everybody we're talking, the interviews, sitting down with my investigators and going over all this. Look, we've all done things we're not proud of. We've all been in relationships we're not proud of. But it appears that, he stepped up, and she's made a lot of serious allegations, but none of them panned out to be even remotely true. Nothing we can prove or add to that. It's just a tragic situation. And I thank God that nobody else was harmed, that daycare had all the proper procedures in place. You can't predict when domestic violence is going to occur. Being there, watching the video, he's doing all the nice things. He does ask the daycare when he goes back up to get the things, what's she doing here? Because it's his time, with these visitation things that they've all got worked out. And she leaves out of the scene of the videos, and she just reappears after he's got the kids strapped in. She damn sure wasn't worried about the kids, because she didn't go back to check on their safety. Her 2 kids that she claimed that she loved were sitting in the back of that vehicle, strapped in car seats, and she opens fire in that vehicle no less than 5 times before he can finally escape out of the vehicle, flees out of there. And she didn't care about the well-being of the others behind her, other people strapping their kids in cars, or the high school and the kids across the road. She's shooting. She's just chasing him. She's like a predator after prey, and she's just chasing him down like an animal. And he runs into that daycare for help. And when he meets that second door, he gets inside the first. The second door secured as it should be. That's why they have those safety protocols in place. He's begging for his life. And she assassinates him. She didn't kill, she assassinated him, and makes the comment. You can hear it on the video. Let the monster die. I won't go kill you kids. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's begging for help as he opens the door when the other lady approaches to get her kids. She don't know what's going on, in regards to it. It shocks her. And first thing she does is flee and call 911. We have one of our deputies had 2 kids that were there at that same daycare during this time. And when the officers get there, they're just met with, a man shot multiple times, chaos, people are scattering. They're trying to figure it out. Then she walks back up and says, here I am. But it was self-defense. That's no case of self-defense. That's outright vicious murder of a human being.
I want to speak about the charges that she's facing now, but I just can't stop thinking about those 2 little boys that were in the car. I know they're young. Maybe they won't remember everything, but still just going through something so traumatic. How did your, deputies handle that with the boys? How were they? What were they doing at this time?
You watch the video. The first thing they do is once they realize the kids are in the car, somebody said the deputies know there's still 2 kids strapped in this car with tinted windows, this expedition. They go immediately remove the kids and away from the scene. We have a victim advocate services. We're getting the social service. Of course, children and families has been involved. We want to get those the help they need. But it wasn't just those 2. The poor kid, the other older little child that was getting strapped in the seatbelt in the car behind them. There were still 6 kids in that daycare and 2 adults in that daycare center with all this chaos and sirens and multiple units showing up on scene. I'm just glad that the procedures were followed. Things were done as they should for that daycare, because if it got past that second door and it hadn't been secured, there's no doubt in my mind she would have chased him into there with those other kids present, because she didn't have any care about anything else around her than what took place with all these people and all these other children. It's bad enough for adults, but we're grown. Those children and that child that was in that second car is old enough to understand what was going on. That mother backed up and fled, rounded the block calling 911, and then goes back to make sure, because we're in a caring community. People wanted help and they wanted to make sure those other kids. So everybody's coming to the aid of those kids. Nobody really knowing who the gunwoman is in this case. It could have been a lot worse. Had that gun not jammed, she still had a few more rounds. She maliciously sat there, waited on the father of the children, their children, to show up at that daycare. Then she comes up, she speaks to the children briefly, she leaves, he loads the kids up as a father should, properly straps them in, gets in his vehicle, and before he can close the door, she comes back around, pulls a gun from a bag, and reaches in and just unloads at least 5 shots. He then jumps out trying to get help. And she opens fire. If that gun hadn't jammed, she'd have fired multiple rounds, which would have hit somebody else at that school or the car behind her. And she chases him up into the daycare. And if that inside door had not been locked, she'd have chased him further into that daycare center.
Listening to this, it all sounds premeditated. Can you speak to the charges she's facing now? And could we potentially see more added as the investigation continues? This is Florida. Is this potentially a death penalty case?
I pray to God it's a death penalty case, because a person of that mindset and of that evilness within them deserves nothing less than death. And that's just my own opinion. I've been in this job a long time, and most people I deal with in my jail are not bad people. They make bad decisions. But she's proof that there's evil in this world. You can call it from drug use, mental illness. There wasn't nothing crazy about her. She knew how to use that weapon. She knew how to clear that weapon. She knew exactly what she was doing. She sat there and she waited. And she waited for their opportunity. And watching the video, that gentleman did nothing to provoke her. He was overly kind to be in the situation there because he knew about all the allegations that she's made. So he was overly nice, being a dad to those 2 boys or those 2 children. It just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for the family. These 2 kids got to grow up now, and life's not easy as it is. And to explain this later on in life when they get older, she has no right to ever see those children again because she didn't give a damn about them.
Yeah. Well, this is a story that we will be following closely. Such a heartbreaking story. Sheriff, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you all for getting the truth.
Mindy Osteen was denied bond. For Law and Crime, I'm Kennedi Walker.